really is like what were you like before what God did, and what are things like
Formula.
afterwards. It's really pretty simple, pretty easy, pretty quick. So that might help with discernment, for people deciding whether that's something that they could do or not. Then as far as the group information, whoever's gonna be the MC will share just a few kind of group like requests before you break into groups, and things like confidentiality, what's said in the group stays in the group, and that we want to have everyone have a chance to share. And so that means the facilitator also should not be dominating the discussion. And so we talked about a little bit that we're going to be breaking into small groups after the witness. And you guys can decide, Debbie and Allison, how you're going to handle that. If you're going to assign groups ahead of time, or if you're going to do them that evening. Like the last two I've been involved with, they've assigned them as people have registered, they've started assigning groups. So that's what you all need to do. This piece of paper that I gave you that has the registration card, have them fill that out. It will give you, the facilitators, the information about contacting the person between the 4th and the 5th week. It also, you can put their group number on there. And so after you collect those, if they forget what group they're in, you'll have that information because you probably have it on the spreadsheet. Okay. So as far as the role of the facilitator goes, this is really the most essential part of the Life of Spirit seminar, where people are broken into groups. Because this is the place where the buy-in happens, where people are able to start really considering their faith. And if they've never considered each person of the Trinity individually, this is a time where they're being exposed to each person of the Trinity, being exposed to each one of the talks in the seminar and the witnesses. And it's also where people really feel like they're being seen and heard. And so, you may be asking, you can use some of the suggestions that are on the facilitator sheets for conversation starters, but this is your seminar, and so it would be whatever the Holy Spirit puts on your heart to start the conversation. It could be something like, what did you hear in the speaker? What struck you most about what the witness said? And just kind of allow everybody to kind of go around and share their thoughts, because we want everybody to be able to have a voice. And those little groups really kind of become like their own little community. And it's really beautiful to see how they come together every week, and they're so excited to see each other. So it's really a beautiful building up of community too. And you can ask, how do these things apply to you? Like, have you ever heard of that before? Is that something that you think you're interested in or you want? One of the things that Jane, who's the director of the Renewal Center, gave me today was something called OARS, O-A-R-S. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. It's something to do with like being in group facilitation. So the O is that you ask open-ended questions, not yes or no questions, but open-ended questions. The A is for affirmation. Or, so if they say something, you can like affirm that, oh yeah, that's the way God works, isn't it great? Or, oh, it's really good that you heard that in the talk. The R is reflective listening, where you can say, let me see if I understand what you're saying, and you can kind of repeat back what you heard them say. Or, you can say, could you tell me a little bit more about that? Just encouraging people to really kind of expand on their thoughts. And the S is the summary, where you can say, well, it sounds like what you said was, and say, did I hear that correctly? So, okay. So begin every group session with a prayer. So when you break into groups, the first week you might go around and have everybody introduce themselves, and a little bit about themselves. And again, it's to help build that community within, within your group, especially for people who don't maybe know each other so well, or if they're from another parish. Like we had a call today for 2 people from St. Peter's and Kirkwood who are gonna be coming. So there'll be people from other parishes too that will be coming. Let's see, and so some of the don'ts are, don't monopolize the conversation, really, and don't allow anybody else to do it either. She is. Well, anyway, so makeup sheets, so one thing that's really a nice thing for a person who's a facilitator to do is it's really kind of a gift of hospitality, where if you have somebody who is in your group and they miss a week, and you know that they missed it, then the next week you can have that makeup sheet available and give it to them and say, hey, I know you weren't here last week, this is what we talked about, let me know if you've got any questions. Again, just to kind of keep them in the loop and keep them, part of that group. Any questions? Oh. So those journals that I handed out, just so you know, they cost like $5. And so I would encourage you to have a donation basket, and as MCs, just let people know that there are costs, that you're not charging for this, but there are costs involved with it, and so that they can help recoup some of that cost, because otherwise you'll probably get an invoice at the end. Then we also have, I brought some of these leader manuals and probably.
Question.
Yes.
Is there a suggested offering to cover the cost, or is it a free will offering?
It's a free will offering. But you can say, there are costs to the seminar, if you're able to give, we'd appreciate it. Journals, if you wanna say how much they cost, that's great. If you don't, that's okay too. But just encouraging that.
Thank you.
And I know, Cheryl, that you'll be bringing some pamphlets
Right.
about like speaking in tongues, all kinds of other things, and then maybe a book. What was that book that you're encouraging people? We talked about it.
Yeah, there's a new book called A Grace for the Whole Church, and it costs $15. There's a Life in the Spirit book that's also $15. And then there's a series of pamphlets that we usually bring. I think there's 8 or 9 of them on different topics, and they're like 50 cents a piece. I'll also have some things that are we don't charge for them, like those pamphlets I handed out from Father King Mesa and the one from Father Hogan. Yeah, and I got to see what else.
Okay, well, that's just, thank you.
Yeah,
So I
there
know.
is also a sheet that is gonna be, it's Pope Paul VI, when he spoke to the Synod of Bishops in 1974 on receiving a release of the Holy Spirit and spiritual gifts. And then another one, St. John Paul II spoke on charisms at a general audience in 1994. And then I'll also have like our Spirit and Bride, which is a quarterly newsletter that we send out. And we send it to anybody who has been at a Life in the Spirit seminar. This is the one that's just off the presses. It just got out when was mailed out last week. And it has a lot of our upcoming events. And Jane, the director, writes, or someone writes a reflection at the beginning of that. We do, like I said, send that to everybody who has gone to a Life in the Spirit seminar. We also don't want to send it to people if they're not interested. And so the last Life in the Spirit seminar I was involved with, I had one of these on every table for people to opt out. Like if they don't want to get it, that's great. We will have some of those available just so people can look at it. If they want to take one, they can. But they may not want another piece of paper appearing in the mail, and so they can opt out of it. I had them on every table, the last one I did, and I thought that worked really well. Jane also sends out a weekly electronic newsletter, which she usually has a reflection. It also has a lot of our upcoming events, and people can opt in to receive that every week if they so desire. It comes out on Fridays. I do have just a few copies of this leader's manual for Life in the Spirit seminar. lot of information about hosting a Life in Spirit seminar. It has, like if somebody was gonna give a talk, it has the whole like information outline for that also. And I think your last week, you're gonna have a mass, the 7th week, and are celebrating that and telling you a little bit about transformation. Helpful. So that, let's see. We do also have a conference coming up in September, and if you're interested, I'll just go put these here. If you're interested, you can take one. It's going to be a Deacon Ralph Boyo, who is a very joyous speaker.